You ever have one of those days when the world just tilts sideways and you realize you're not crazy, everyone else is, yeah. That was the day a manager called 911 on me for standing in the middle of the warehouse I own. I'm not exaggerating. I literally built that building from the ground up, and somehow this woman decided I didn't belong there. I guess I should start from the top. I'm Marcus. I run a logistics and supply chain company. I started out of my garage 22 years ago with a second mortgage and a van that coughed more than it ran. I've seen everything from sleeping in the truck to sealing multi-million-dollar contracts. So when I say my business is my life's work, I mean that in the truest sense. Every wall, every bolt, every floor I walk on carries a piece of me. A few months back, I bought a failing competitor. The crown jewel was a massive distribution hub in Jackson County, a warehouse sitting right in the middle of two major interstates. Old Bones' perfect location. We spent a year and a fortune renovating it. New automation, smart racking, advanced inventory software. It was supposed to be my company's flagship. And yeah, I was proud. Maybe too proud. When we took over, we kept a few of the old staff. My COO did the interviews, and one of them was a woman named Diane. She came with shining references, 15 years in management, OSHA certifications, no-nonsense attitude. She was the new site manager. I didn't think much of it then. Now I've always had a habit of showing up unannounced to my facilities. I don't do it to scare anyone. It's just how I keep things honest. I'll throw on work pants, steel-toe boots, an old hoodie, and walk the floor. I like hearing from the guys running forklifts more than hearing PowerPoints in a boardroom. That's how I know what's really going on. So that morning I drove 2 hours to the Jackson hub. Didn't tell anyone. Parked in the regular lot, swiped my master access card at the side door, and stepped inside. The sound hit me first, the hum of the conveyor belts, the beeps of scanners, the rhythm of a living machine. That's the sound of success to me. I must have spent 30 minutes just walking, watching the automated system sort packages like clockwork. I was smiling until I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around and met her. Diane. Mid-40s hair pulled so tight you could hear it creak, clipboard clutched like a weapon. Her expression screamed suspicion. "Can I help you?" she said, voice sharp as a blade. I smiled politely. "Just observing the new system," I said, still looking at the belts. Her tone stiffened. "Who are you with vendor contractor?" "I'm just here to see how things are running," I replied, not wanting to drop the whole "I'm your boss" bomb. I like to see how managers act when they don't think anyone's watching. That was my mistake. Her eyes scanned me, hoodie, dark skin, boots, and her whole posture changed. You could see the switch flip. Suspicion turned to hostility. "This is a restricted area," she snapped. "You need to leave right now." I took a breath. "Ma'am, I have authorization to be here." From who she barked. "I'm the manager. I didn't approve any visitors." A few workers nearby pretended not to listen, but I could feel their eyes. I tried to diffuse it. "Look, I'm from corporate. Surprise audit. No need to get tense." Her eyebrows shot up. "Corporate. You." She actually laughed. "You don't look like any corporate I've ever seen. More like maintenance." I felt the burn rising in my chest. Not anger yet, just that deep sting of familiarity. "My job isn't about how I look," I said evenly. "Well, mine is about keeping this place safe," she said, stepping closer. "And you're trespassing. Either you leave or I call the cops." I folded my arms. "Go ahead." She did, right there. Dialed 911 like she was the hero in some security drama. I stood still calm while she told the dispatcher that a large, aggressive man had broken into the facility. Her voice shook not from fear, but excitement. She was performing. I could see it. When the police showed up 10 minutes later, she met them with a dramatic wave. "That's him," she pointed. "He's been threatening staff." The officers were polite but cautious. "Sir, can we see some ID?" I handed over my license. "Of course. There's been a misunderstanding." She interrupted immediately. "He's not an employee." I checked the system. She was technically right. I'm not in the standard employee database. Owners aren't. I told the officers I worked for the company that owned the property. They looked uneasy. One said, "Sir, the manager here is revoking your access. We'll have to escort you out." So I nodded, smiled even. Understood. As they walked me out, I could see her reflection in the glass doors, arms crossed, chin up, smug, like she'd just saved the company from a criminal. I can't describe how that felt. Humiliation, rage. Fear, maybe? Because I know what can happen when someone like me gets the police called on them. I sat in my car afterward, hands tight on the steering wheel, and I told myself she didn't just insult me, she created a legal record accusing me of being a threat on my own property. That's not just ignorance. That's dangerous. That night I called my lawyer. He laughed when he heard the words "formal trespass warning." "Marcus," he said, "don't do a thing. Tomorrow's gonna be fun." Then I called my COO, Tom, the man who'd hired her. He was dead silent, then whispered, "I'm sorry, man." I approved her. "I'll fix this." "Yeah," I said, "we will. Meet me at 9 tomorrow. Bring HR." The next morning I wore the same hoodie, same boots, parked in the same spot. Tom and our HR director, Clara, arrived in their sharp business suits. Tom gave me this half smile, he knew what was coming. We walked in through the main door this time, no badges, no warning. The receptionist's face froze. Then, as if summoned by chaos itself, Diane stormed out of her office. "You again," she shouted, red in the face. "I told you I'd have you arrested. You're done here." She started dialing her phone again. Tom stepped forward. Diane put the phone down. His voice carried the kind of authority that makes a room go quiet. She hesitated. "Who are you?" "I'm the chief operating officer," he said calmly. "And this is Clara from HR. And the man you called the police on yesterday. He's Marcus Davis, the founder and owner of this company." The silence that followed. You could have heard a forklift beep 2 buildings away. Diane's face turned the color of drywall. I didn't know," she stammered. Clara stepped in, professional but cold. "That's irrelevant. You were informed he had authorization. Instead of verifying, you escalated, filed a false report, and endangered an innocent person. We have witnesses, we have recordings, and we have a police report." Diane started shaking. I was following protocol. I thought he was a threat. I finally spoke. "A threat, huh? What about me was threatening? My hoodie, my skin color. You didn't see a CEO, you saw a suspect. You wanted to feel powerful, and you did. You smiled when those officers walked me out. You enjoyed it." She couldn't even look at me. Clara's tone turned final. "Diane, you're suspended effective immediately. Turn in your keys and badge," Tom added. "And by the way, the police report's being corrected. They're not happy about wasting resources on your prejudice." Her hands trembled as she handed over her keys. She whispered, "Please, I need this job." I looked at her and said quietly, "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to see me as less than you. You chose to use fear instead of respect. And you could have cost me my life." She cried as security walked her out. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Yesterday, I was the one being escorted out of my own building. Today, it was her turn. Afterward, we launched a full internal review. Turns out Diane had a record of comments, the kind of microaggressions people brush off until they pile up. She was terminated for gross misconduct, racial discrimination, and misuse of authority. Her lawyer didn't even contest it. But here's the thing, I didn't just want revenge. I wanted reform. That day showed me how fragile workplace culture can be when bias goes unchecked. So we started new programs, anonymous HR hotlines, inclusion, training, manager evaluations tied to respect scores. We built something stronger from the ashes. The warehouse she tried to claim as hers. It's now our top-performing facility. The new manager, a sharp young woman named Alana, turned it into a model of teamwork and efficiency. Every time I visit, I think of that day of Diane's smirk behind the glass, and I realize something: sometimes the best justice isn't shouting or suing. It's rebuilding so well that their hate becomes irrelevant. She wanted me banned from my own company, but instead she got herself banned from the entire industry. So yeah, that's my story. Some people learn through empathy, others only through consequences. What do you think? Should I have confronted her the first time and ended it right there, or was letting her bury herself the better call? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you'd have done, and if you've ever dealt with someone like that, share it. Because stories like these, they need to be told.